I have had many unexplained and bizarre things happen to me throughout my life. I want to tell you about one event that happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in a house that I had bought and had been living in for 7 years. Up until this point, there had been no paranormal activity in this house. Most places that I lived in had at least one paranormal event. Then, out of the blue, for about a 6-month period, there were all kinds of bizarre, strange apparitions, noises, and paranormal events happening in my house. I will tell you about just one incident. It was one of the first in a series of unexplained events. I owned a duplex in Minneapolis, of which I lived on the first floor. The second floor was a small apartment that I rented out to a young man named Garrett. It was fully carpeted so that I wouldn't have to hear the creaking hardwood floors that were almost 100 years old. One night, at about 4 a.m, I woke up to a bunch of noise going on in the upstairs apartment. The noise sounded like a woman in high heels pacing back and forth the entire length of the apartment on a hardwood floor. Click, 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 clicking sounds paced up and down the floor above me. It sounded exactly like a woman in high heel shoes. I laid there for a couple of minutes listening. I was a little bit annoyed that I was being woken up in the middle of the night. But more than that, I was really confused as to how Garrett was making that noise. I thought, is he wearing high heel shoes up there? And my next thought was, has he pulled up that carpeting? I thought, I did not give him permission to rip up that carpeting. I figured since he was awake, I might as well call him and ask him. I picked up my cell phone as the pacing continued overhead. As soon as I heard his voice, the click-click-clicking pacing sound stopped. I assumed that he had stopped pacing because he was talking to me on the phone. I said, "Hey, how are you making that noise? It sounds like you're wearing high heel shoes and walking on a hardwood floor. You didn't pull up that carpet, did you?" There was a pause, and then Garrett said in a really groggy voice, I'm at my girlfriend's house." By this time, the upstairs had gone completely quiet. The hair rose on the back of my neck, and I got that bizarre feeling I get when something paranormal happens. Garrett said he was heading home immediately. I hung up the phone and listened for another minute to see if I could hear the footsteps again. It was all quiet up there. I threw on a bathrobe, ran outside, and looked up at the second floor to see if there were lights on. It was completely dark. Now, the only way to get to the second floor is through one outside stairwell. I stood there and watched and waited for any activity or for someone to come running down those stairs. Nothing happened. About 10 minutes later, Garrett pulled up in his car. He quickly ran up the stairs, unlocked the door, and looked through every room. The apartment was empty and quiet, and everything was just as he had left it. He checked all the windows. They were all locked from the inside, just as he had left them. There is no way to get out of that house unless it's out a window and a long fall to the ground or that stairwell. There is no way that all the windows could be locked and the door deadbolted and someone leave there without unlocking one of them. My renter and I stood outside discussing what had happened. There is no explanation. Some people will say that I was sleeping and it was a dream. But I woke up because of the noise. And I lay there for a full minute or two, listening to that click, click, click of pacing footsteps. The noise stopped only after I called Garrett. I find that very interesting in itself. Why would it stop the second I reached out to the person who lived up there? Needless to say, we never came up with an explanation. One thing I love about unexplained paranormal events is that they make me think about what else exists besides us. And how is it that sometimes our realities intersect? Was there a time when a woman lived up there, when the hardwood floors were still bare? Was she anxiously pacing up and down over some worry or concern? Did her timeline and my timeline intersect for some reason? Did she stop pacing because she heard me talking on the phone? Maybe she thought she heard a ghost. Maybe I was the ghost in her reality. Einstein says that time is relative and that everything is happening all at once. Or was this high-heeled woman so distraught that she took her own life, and there are negative recorded energy waves still playing over and over up there, and I just happened to tune into them? This reality is just one tiny piece of a much bigger reality, and I am so grateful that I get to peer into those magical places every now and then. Have you ever had a strange encounter with a ghost or a spirit being? I would love to hear your stories and share them with our viewers. You can send them to me at the email in the description box. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future updates. Until next time, I hope you have a magical day out in the strange paranormal world we live in.